trying to use a new computer, and the computer also is trying to use me at the same time. But I think we're good now. So hope we've had a good week and everyone's well rested. Today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic. It's around managing imposter syndrome as a professional. So in thinking about this topic, one of the most interesting part is I was asking myself, what's the best way to deliver this? Is it fair enough to create some very fancy presentation, just something to look nice, or just go straight bone in and like have a conversation? Because it's as interesting as it may look, this is what every single person goes through. No matter what your level is, no matter who you are, there's always that voice in you that creates some form of doubt. And so for me, I think this is one of the very important topics and conversations we have, because as you go higher in your profession, in your professional career, you will be surprised that it never goes away. The only difference is your ability to manage it. So let's dive straight in. So today we'll be going through 5 different phases of the presentation. The first phase will be to define what imposter syndrome is. We need to know what it is before we can even talk about it. We need to like put a finger on it. The second stage is what causes it. Why does it even happen? We need to understand that. The third phase is to identify it, like, okay, is it that I'm really incompetent, or is it just imposter syndrome? Then the fourth stage is how do we even manage it? Because reality is, whether you like it or not, you're going to go through it. So the best option is to figure out how to manage it. Then in there, I will throw a personal experience I'll share. So like I said, this is some conversation we're having. It's not just some PowerPoint presentation where you listen. It's for you to understand that no matter how many years of experience, no matter who you are, there's always going to be situations that's going to make you doubt yourself. So we dive in straight. The first thing we'll look at is the definition. So in defining imposter syndrome, I was just reading through, like, what is the best term to use, like, in terms of what is it anyways? And some key definitions caught my attention, 2 of them. The first one is uncomfortable feeling you experience when you think you're unqualified and incompetent. The keywords in there are unqualified and incompetent, because like it or not, and I think this happens mostly maybe when you want to start a new job, or you're going for an interview, or you're being promoted into a role, a very senior role, and there's always that feeling, man, am I good enough? Can I do this? And all that. So I picked out those 2 keywords in there, unqualified and incompetent. It's a feeling, like, in your mind, like, am I good enough? Like, I'm not good enough. Then the second one I saw is still using similar words, but this also takes it further. I said repeated feelings or thoughts that they are incompetent or not good enough, despite evidence to the contrary. And I think that's the key word in there. The evidence is there that you are good enough, you are competent, you are trusted by the organization. But there's just something in you that just, man, I'm not good enough. And I think, for example, this happens a lot when maybe we applied for a job and they call us for an interview. The first few minutes before the interview, our mind just goes crazy. Are you going to take me? This, this, like that silly voice in your head, like to say that, am I good enough? Would they call me? What if they ask me what I don't know? Then in the process of maybe doing the interview, they start to ask you questions that you don't have an idea, man. Everything starts to go downhill. You start to confirming it in your head, man. I'm not good enough. It's not, man, this thing, this other people will know I don't know anything, or yada, yada, yada. And you start to sink yourself into that situation. So the key word there, like I mentioned, is that feeling of incompetence or not good enough. However, the evidence shows the contrary. So if that is what is imposter syndrome is, right? The next thing we need to ask yourself, like, why do we even have it? What happens? Like, How did it even occur? Because the funny part of it is that 1, 2, 3 hours before, even a day before, you're the normal guy, a normal lady, my girl, smart, you're smart. You study books more now, like, you have something. Then suddenly in the heat of the whole thing, then something suddenly happens to you. Like, man, your mind starts to like, hey, God, hi, hey, what if, hey, this thing, hey, can I? So we'll look at what causes it. And in terms of cause for the imposter syndrome, one of the first things that creates it is personality. In fact, if you ask me, that's the biggest thing. A lot of us, who we are, impacts on how we respond to situations. Many people, if not almost all, grew up in, especially Africans, grew up in homes where humility is everything. You have to be humble. You can't, if you show yourself that you know something, it becomes like you're being arrogant or being proud. So in your mind, you're already in a certain state as a growing child, it's already been fed into your head. Then you come from a world where mistakes happen. Like when mistakes happen, they flog you. Like the first class are perfectionists. So let me give you a typical scenario. If you look at the way you go through school, and this is my own theory and belief, it's not proven, but I've been through life enough to be able to make some sense out of life. One of the worst things we do in our educational system to our children is we are trained to hate other children. And in being trained to hate other children, we have become that thing, but we don't know, because in our lives, we've not seen an alternative situation. What do I mean? If you are in school, you take second position. When you get home, what do your parents say? I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. The first thing our parents say, the person that took first position, do they have two heads? You took second, though. Second is almost exceptional, because like maybe in a class of 50, 60 students, you took second. You're like above, so many people. First thing your parents like, you are too playful. Although that boy that got first, is he smarter than you? That girl that took first position, do they have two heads? You start to go through life with that mentality that, man, I have to be better. 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 It's good. It helps you develop yourself, improve yourself. But at the same time, you focus on perfection. And subconsciously, it gets built into you as you grow up to, like, no matter what you do, there's always going to be that fear that this is not good enough. So you sort of become a perfectionist. Some of us, we know now, when you do reports at the end of the month, you keep looking, maybe there's one fault. Maybe, I don't know if this happens to some of you, but I'm past that in my life now. I don't even bother my head anymore. I've been in situations where you are looking for your balance sheets, where you have that useless 0.01 variance. That time you're doing your balance sheet to balance. You now spend hours trying to figure out what is causing this 0.01. Something that if you just plug +1 or -1 somewhere, it will disappear. You will spend hours and days on it. That's an example of a perfectionist. And that's the kind of example of things that start to help create that imposter syndrome, because everything has to go right. So once there's some small thing in it that doesn't look right, you're gone. Your head just goes wild and you start to process it, man. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't know this. The second thing again is environment. If you work in a place where things are fast-paced, so some of us work for companies that a deadline is the deadline, 7th is 7th to submit your report, 5th is 5th, 10th is 10th. So there's no excuses, there's nothing. You start to tell yourself, that thing passed me. Me, if you, in a place whereby like everybody expects things. So I'll give you a typical scenario, typical personal experience. I started my finance career with PwC. I did about 4 years there, and PwC is one of the places, I think it's still the same in Big Four today. I'm not 100% sure. I've left Big Four like over a decade ago. I left about 15 years ago. Yeah, about 15 years ago. That's when I left Big Four. So, but the culture it was fast paced. So in PwC, people that know PwC very well, I don't know if it's still the same thing. In 6 months, you're expected to be promoted from associate 3. You come in as associate 3, you become associate 2. From in another 6 months, you go from associate 2 to associate 1. Everyone comes in as associate 3, entry level, except experienced hire. Then in 6 months, expectation, because that's what everyone does. You do very well. It's crazy. It's that fast. You got to get your appraisals and everything in. You become associate 2, A2. Then another 6 months, you're already chasing A1. Then if you're super good, in another 6 months, you become senior 3. Most people spend one whole year to become senior 3, but there's always those guys that are like, so if you come from those kind of environment, there's always that feeling like, man, and I think I had it all through while I was there. That's the funniest part, because you had people in your group or your set, ICANN prize winners, ACCA prize winner, sitting down with you like, you're good. Don't get me wrong. You're good. I came from a school where I was like top 5. I'm trying to have a small book now. That feeling, you come from your school with small shoulder, chip in your shoulder, you come into the trainings there. Then you start to meet people that, as a matter of fact, this is so funny. When I joined PwC, I had about 4 employment offers. I was feeling good with myself that I'm me, superstar, 4 employment offers. Different companies, Zenith, P&G, Freshland, Wamco, EcoBank. I was that a big boy like me. Then when I got in my sets, then I won't forget, I think the average person that joined had exactly about the same 4 employment offers, or even 5. We had like 2 people that were done with ICANN. I'm talking of less than 25 years old guys that me 23, 24, they had done with, they were like, people we even had master's degree older. Then I remember, I think it was like 24 years old or so, 25. Like, so it started setting into me too, to be honest, like, hey, me that I was feeling like a superstar, I don't even know, and nobody in the midst of this guy. So you have guys that are so smart. So when you find yourself in such an environment, there's always that fear that, man, how did I get here? God, these guys are good, man. How can I cope and all that? So environment also creates that imposter syndrome in your head. Another thing is similar to the first one, your childhood experience. Like, if you come from homes, like a lot of our parents, like just the example I gave before, they will criticize you, they will beat you once you make a mistake like this, or more, you don't receive. Bah. It makes you, it turns you into someone who second guesses themselves. Just like the example I use for personality, like one of the first things you notice is, there's somebody who is better than you in math in school or English. It's not because you are not smart. Everybody has their talent. Some people are very good with numbers. Some people are good with stories. I'm very good with numbers, but I'm not. I can manage stories. I develop myself. So me now, you want to now say I should compete with somebody who is good with stories, English. I will struggle, no how. But if you give me numbers, my brain processes numbers. So you come from homes that you get smart, so they beat you, they flog the nonsense, come off for your body. And as you get older, it creates that safety net in your head wherever you go, like, I'm not good enough. My mother has already insulted me that Olodo. Surely some of us that they used to call Olodo. Everywhere you go, if you make mistake, the thing will just come, and my mother said it to village people after me, Olodo, these people will catch me, That's some unfortunate reality, but it affects it. Culture. This one is also very common. This is like, this happened to me, I'll be honest with you. It's a typical scenario where it's like when some of us who work in companies that we have Weibo people, there's always that general mentality, Weibo sabi something. Until maybe you now go deep with them, you now realize these guys are learning from us, So there's always going to be that situation when you meet yourself in a situation where you're speaking to maybe Weibo people or working in there, like that's culture. Weibo man gets sense past me, until you be in the midst of many of them. No. These guys are not better than me at all. They just know how to package themselves better than I do. Another key thing is social media. I think this is the biggest one. I must confess, lately I've slowed down on checking LinkedIn because I don't know. I think LinkedIn is worse than Twitter, Instagram lately. Or more. Jesus Christ. LinkedIn is a place where people get tortured. Like everywhere you look, somebody is celebrating something. I just finished my PhD, 10th PhD. Oh, I just got a job as this. I just this. Everybody is now an expert. You see 5 things to do this. If you are not careful, it will just start to mess with your head. And personally, I won't lie to you, it messes with my head a lot until maybe like some 2, 3, 4 months ago. I said, boy, how do you look this thing here? I beg. This one, everybody does a package. Now BS, everybody, the BS, everybody. Nothing, nobody better pass anybody. Nobody knows more than anybody. And, everywhere you go, people are telling super perfect stories until you meet them. I once spoke to someone. This person is a LinkedIn influencer, like a top influencer. This I'm talking about just 3 weeks ago. Top influencer that people know is held very key position. And when me and the guy was talking, normally me and my friends, like that we go way back, you know how it is now, your people, you go bare bone with each other, they BS each other. Oh boy, guy was just lamenting more. And the point, guys is abroad, just lamenting more. This whole thing said, man, I don't tire. See how they just done me money, they come. The person just the package. Not to see, I don't even know anything to do. I will now realize that I was giving someone tips, someone that I felt was even better than me. Because if you see this guy's profile on LinkedIn, he has held key positions that, in global places that you're wondering, this guy. But when I was having a conversation, it was a different ball game. Like, oh boy, they do this one. And he's even building YouTube channel. Like, you see this guy, experts in finance, experts in there. But this is someone that was telling me that he had no clue what he's doing. He's just pushing. I said, oh boy. So now package all of us they do for this year LinkedIn thing. So social media is very, very big. Like you need to control what you consume. That's the right way I'll describe it. Control what you consume. I do that. Nowadays, what I do mostly on LinkedIn is just scan briefly, like a minute, because I don't want to start saying, oh, I just finished this. I just didn't. Because the moment you start seeing those things, it starts to make you feel like, man, you're not doing anything with your life. Everybody's just achieving things. People are making impact. People are doing courses. People are traveling. You just sit down in one place and be doing report every day. You be speaking English. Be going home after work. But in reality, people only celebrate the good part. People don't really tell you what they are going through. People don't tell you what it took them. People don't tell you the full story of that. Social media is a big disaster nowadays. I've been watching Chivido's, Choma and Davido stuff. I'm like, some people go soon, they commit suicide very soon because the way everybody just package as if the world is about to end. Then another key thing is biases, bias is also very big. And it comes from the humility that most of us have in our lives that, you are trained to like not celebrate yourself. You are trained to like not blow your own trumpet. So when something happens to us, you say it's luck. Even when you did well, you read for the exam, if you pass, you feel like it's luck. Meanwhile, you put in the work, you put in the effort, and God crowned your efforts. But yet, deep down, you say, I was so lucky. Then overthinking, when something comes your way, you start to overthink. Those kind of things also affect or causes the imposter syndrome. So now that we have a fair idea, there are tons of reasons that cause it, but these are some of the few ones I just pointed out, because these are things that impact me personally, and I'm sure that people I speak to from time to time, these are some of the things that they mention. So I know that it hits hard when you talk about these particular things in here. So how do we even manage it? Next step is to first how do we identify it? How do you even know whether you're dull, you don't have anything, or it's just imposter syndrome, coming to play? The first thing is constant self-doubt. That feeling every time you do something, I'm not good enough, like, or you want to try something, you apply for a job, they call you for an interview, then you start to panic, hey God, or they give you an offer, you start to say, can I do this thing? That self-doubt, they want to promote you at work, you start getting scared, hey, me, manager, hey, alone, senior manager, but deep down, in reality, the evidence is contrary. You're not doing bad. You can prepare the basic financial statements. You at least to a large extent, you understand the work you're doing. You're smart. You can think. You can solve problems. But there's always that constant self-doubt. So that's the first thing you need to ask yourself. Like, how often do I doubt myself when I see situations? When an opportunity comes, what's the first thing that comes to me? Do I believe that I'm the best for this? Or do I doubt myself? The second thing you need to also be careful about, to look out for when you identify if it's imposter syndrome or not, is that fear of not being found out. Like, man, first of all, you are doubting yourself. Now you feel that these people will catch me. So you start to triple check. It's good enough. You double check whatever you do, just to be sure. But when you start to triple check, when you start feeling in your gut something is wrong somewhere, something is missing somewhere, in your head, you have already rehearsed it. Like, okay, this is what they're going to say. This is what I'm going to tell them about. You're already over processing stuff in your head. Meanwhile, the person you're sending report to doesn't even spend more than 5 minutes looking at the whole thing, or 3 minutes. But in your head, you spend 2 days trying to analyze, this one, they ask me question about this, especially in interviews too. This is very common. Like, we're always overthinking, over analyzing stuff. When you start seeing that there's a fear, these people will know that I don't know this thing. It's another sign that men are going through the imposter syndrome. Then thirdly is relying on external validation. This one is a killing thing. This one affects people more. If you have bosses or managers, good job, nice job, it gives you confidence. Then you now change job to a manager that doesn't even care. They're not mean, they're not wicked, but they're just not used to saying good job, well done, that kind of situation. So every time you're always looking for someone to praise you, say, okay, they say I'm good, then I'm good, or that positive feedback. When you start requiring that, when your own words are not sufficient for you to tell yourself that you're good enough, then there's something wrong in there in terms of what you call it. You're experiencing imposter syndrome. Another one is perfectionism. You just can't be nobody can do it as good as you are. You have to be the one to do the work. Everything must be right. We're all good with financial statements. I've been CFO for so many years. I've worked in many organizations, but I tell you, even till today, I still goof. That sometimes I'll look at it maybe a week later, I say, oh boy, it take me that kind of stupid goof, but it's normal. It's part of life. You're not perfect. You just, as long as the fundamentals are there, the key things, and you're able to identify it and manage whatever process that comes afterwards, you're fine. But perfectionism, man, I see a lot of people do it these days, and that's why you see us want to die at the office. Attribution errors. We always attribute everything to luck. If something good happens to you, you say, I was lucky. No, you're not. You worked hard for it, and God crowned your glory. It's that simple. It's not about luck. It's not about anything. You worked hard, and God saw your effort and crowned it. Simple. You deserve it. You earned it. Learn to appreciate yourself. Then overworking. This one, a lot of people don't realize this, but this is a big deal. I'm guilty of this because I used to think at some point in my life that no one can outwork me. You just have to put in that extra hours, put in that extra effort. You just taking extra because you feel that, man, there are days, and I think this happens to many people. I don't know how some people deal with it. They are very lucky. I'm learning to manage it anyway. You just feel that I didn't do anything to do. Guy. And these people will pay me salary. What if they find out? Guy. Are you sure that I'm not going to be sacked soon? Because it seems my work is too easy these days. So I'm not really doing much. You start to now go and create work for yourself. Or out of stupidity, you'll be looking for work. And when you now see work, you be complaining, say, oh, they want to kill me. Oh, hey, God, which kind of work I collect? I can't go back. So it's also a sign of imposter syndrome because you don't, there's that hole, there's that emptiness in you that makes you keep feeling that you're not doing well enough or you're not good enough. You know, it's a major sign, but a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people just feel it's just being hardworking. No, it's not. Hardworking means you're doing your job well and you're developing yourself. But when you just keep jumping on work, you want to give me work, give me work, give me work. There's something in you that is pushing you, but you just don't want to accept it. That's a major sign of imposter syndrome. Now that we know what causes it, there's other tons of things now, so signs that we need to look out for, but now that we know what it is to look out for, question is, how do we address it? There's a 3-step flow to it, but it's broken down into multiple phases. The first step is to recognize it. You need to first identify and accept it that, okay, there's something wrong. I'm over processing this thing. There's something wrong. Then the next step is reflect that, okay, am I good enough or am I not really good enough? Because you have to accept it. Then the third step is you need to reframe the whole thing that, okay, hey, is it a real issue or is it something in my head? So the first thing we look out for is focus on facts, not feelings. I tell people this a lot, and this is one of the way I cope also. When I get maybe called for a position, someone reaches out or I send a CV or I go for an interview, there's that fear. And what I always, someone told me this and it's been very helpful to me, that for the fact that you're invited for that interview, it's because there's something they see in you. It's not because you are the best, it's not because you have everything, but there's something whoever invited you see in you that they believe that you can do the job. And that's the fact. So forget your feelings, forget your emotions, forget anything. But that's a fact. If there's something they see in you, that's the fact. Don't bother your head about, oh, this is perfect and all that. A lot of people, it's an emotional thing for them. They are processing stuff emotionally, and things like that. That's one of the biggest things. Ignore your feelings. Oh, you feel fear. Everyone is scared, but fear is not a factor. Don't make fear a factor. Make hunger a factor. Make desire a factor. If you want something so bad, you go above and beyond your fear to get it done. That's just my own principle to life also. Like, if I want something, I just push aside fear. Everybody, they fear. Even, I don't think I've ever met anyone in this world that is not afraid. Even the best of the best. But they've just found a coping mechanism around it. The next one is you have to acknowledge your feelings of self-doubt. Then let go. Okay, yes. I'm not good enough. Okay, yes. They might catch me. So what? Really? So? What's the worst? I always joke around with people that, because I was sitting down one day, I was analyzing myself, and I realized that in my career, I think I've been fired how many times? Is it 3 or 4 times in my career? And I laugh at it because I'm still alive. I'm not dead. I'm even still doing better than I used to do in those places I was fired. So what? Okay, if they find out that, okay, you don't know something, so what? If there's an error in your report, so what? What? It happens. Yes, it happens. It happens to everyone. Even your bosses, your CEO, everybody makes mistakes. Even yourself, whoever it is. The question is, how do you deal with it afterwards? So don't let your feeling drown you. Acknowledge it. Yes, there's some gaps I have. But the question is, what do I do afterwards? So don't dwell on it. Don't over process. Don't feed it. Let me say, don't feed that beast in your head to make you feel like I'm not good enough and all that. Then the next thing is talk to someone you trust. This is very big because until you speak to people, you won't realize that you're all going through the same problem. You won't know that people are. I'll give you a very funny story. This is useless, to be honest. I won't advise you to do it. I remember when I started my career at PwC, here I was coming from NYC, I was doing work on the side even while I was in school. But I joined PwC, we start training, we start, getting by 7:30, start the class by 8 o'clock. It was daily tests, the weekly tests. So whatever you do yesterday, you'll be tested on it today. Whatever you do on Monday, you'll be tested on Tuesday. Whatever you do on Monday and Tuesday, you'll be tested on Wednesday, cumulatively like that. It was intense. It was crazy. And I told you, me coming from a place, seeing like 4 or 5 letters, I used to put them on my table feeling like a G because I printed it. He owed me. Coming to a place where I even had someone that had like 6 or 7. People with master's degree, people with ICANN. Me, the only thing I had then was my BSc. Then I think I had done my NIM then and Institute of Strategic Management, 2 certificates and all that extra. So and they told us that, look, at the end of the 7 weeks training, some people will be let go. That was my first trigger for my own imposter syndrome. Hey, how would I turn down other offers and take this useless job after 7 weeks? They'll not sack me. So it was getting tough the first few days. You know how it is now. I've been tested. It's a new this thing for you. And I spoke to someone. I mean, like I said, it's not the best thing. With the benefit of hindsight, I should have spoken to someone more experienced than mature. I spoke to one guy. We're living in the same neighborhood with them, Tester. And we had similar ideas, similar mentality. Book people like nerds, ethical bookworm, full PwC. So I'm not your typical book person. Yeah, I study hard because I was brought up not to be lazy and all that, but I still like to jaye now in normal life. You flex, you drink beer, go clubbing once, not major clubbing. So this guy, we gelled a lot, and I still remember our story, this thing. Every morning then, we used to take 1 bottle of small stout or 2 just to cope with it. It was useless. Like I said, I would never ever recommend it. So we go into the class with alcohol in our body. What that did was it created an alter ego. So going into those training sessions every morning wasn't George. It was what I refer to today as King George. For some of you who have my number, you'll see that my WhatsApp status is King George the Great. I created King George the Great back then, unknowingly, because I realized that if I was being my ordinary self, I was struggling. But if I was this other character in me, I was unstoppable, and I feel that other character like, okay, it's still the same me, same human being, same head, same coconut hair, same stubbornness, but there's an alter ego in me that believes that I can do every single thing in this world. And that was born back then, until I grew older, I started realizing that I had that second person. So that was how I coped with it. Like I said, I spoke to someone because I trusted him. I said, oh boy, this thing, they sack us, they don't go funny at all. See, we just struggle with it, I didn't know everybody was struggling in my sets there. I never knew. That's the funniest thing. But I only spoke to him, and because everybody, how it is, and everybody nothing they happen, we do all right. It was a lie. We were all struggling. But with the benefit of hindsight, I would have spoken to someone who is more senior in the system, who is more experienced. That will tell me, okay, everybody passes through this stage, and this is how you survive. So my advice is look for someone. I spoke to someone like last month also, just encouraging him in a situation of life to you will always meet these things, but you need to be able to speak to people who probably have been through that process and they can advise you. I will never advise someone on this, but I will advise on the other part of it, which is what works for me till today. And I picked it up also from actors. If you meet actors in their real life, if you meet some of these musicians, you will realize that what you see on TV is a persona. It's different from who they really are, because the person you see on TV is their brand versus who they really are in their real lives. The ones that struggle are the ones who don't know how to separate those two, who just permanently marry. It's like, I'm a superstar everywhere I go. So it gets to their head, they start to maybe smoke igbos, take drugs, because they don't realize that if you create that second persona, you need to know how to cut off, to shut that down, be your normal self. And this is common. If you have maybe older ones, married people, they'll tell you this. When you get off work and drive home, most people do this, most guys especially. You stay in your car for at least 10, 15, 20 minutes before you enter house to see your wife or family. It's normal. Because what you are doing is you are offloading the alter ego, the personality of work. So that one live there. Then you're now going into your house with your normal self. It's a common thing, like most people do it. Ask any of your senior brothers or anybody that nobody just gets home off the car and gets into the house. You will always have to offload. Some are good, they know how to offload on their way home, But if you are in Lagos, it's hard to offload on your way home because you are struggling with downfall, you're struggling if someone wants to pick your pocket, all sorts. So you still have to have that small madness in you until you get to your house. Then you now dump the madness outside. Then you go inside. Then when you are going out again next morning, you carry your madness and put it back on and go. So there's always that alter ego. It helped me, and I think it's something that will always help you. Have that personality that is super. The next one is celebrate your success. I think this is one big thing that we all make mistake. We don't know how to celebrate success. We feel that it's being arrogant. We feel it's ego, being proud. No. If you've done well, appreciate it. Me, I don't play with my successes nowadays. No matter how small it is, if I submit a report before deadline, at the chop suya that day, whatever it is, or just, go to the place, or just be nice to yourself. Easy now. You be superstar, that kind of thing. Like, you are a celebrity. Don't always kill it. It's what is affecting you, because you don't know how to appreciate it when you have done well. So always learn to be positive about yourself. I'm always positive about even work that I don't know. I will tell you I can do it, and I always figure it out. There's always that 5-second rule where if you get to take a decision and within 5 seconds your brain is still normal, it's after 5 seconds your brain starts to overprocess things. So I always within that 5 seconds I always send it in the positive direction. Is it normal? This is small work. And before you know it, I start to push my brain into there. Then, like I said, King George comes in. Yeah, papa, let's go. Deep down, I know this, but I have no clue. The next one is challenge your negative thoughts. Never, ever allow your negative thoughts to reside in your head. If it's to start reading books, if you start to watch motivational or being around people who are positive, negativity only fuels further negativity. And if you don't cut it early, I can guarantee you to eat you up the older you become. I've seen people become monsters. I've seen people give up in life because of some negative thoughts. A personal story. I moved to a different country. I moved to Canada in 2022. And it's one thing to plan your head. Like Mike Tyson will say, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. It's one thing to move your head that you get there, you do this, you do that, you do this. Then when you land, reality happens, And for the first few months, I think I found myself around people who for lack of a better way to describe them, negative. Because one of the worst things you do when you go abroad is you don't want to be around people who say, it's not possible. They won't give you a job. You're African. They'll discriminate against you. It's common. That's the first thing you see. They're nice people, don't get me wrong. Nice people will help you, whatever it is, but they will just keep telling you it's not possible. So I fed off that for 6-8 months of my life. It was very frustrating. I'm not going to lie to you. And I kept seeing myself at a low level because of that. This abroad thing, are you sure it's not a big mistake? Hey, God. That kind of feeling and I started seeing myself, it was CFO, started seeing myself as a bookkeeper because you have to fit in. Because that's what they tell you. That's the only job you get, or care job, or all these, basic entry level jobs. So, because that's what most people do. So I was into that mindset because that's how much they know they give with these people. They're very discriminatory. They know they give black man this and that. Then I started noticing what I didn't have. I started noticing, I'm a Nigerian FCA fellow. I can. But here I am in Canada. They're asking me that I have to go and write 2 or 3 stages of exams against. For what? Do these people know what a fellow means? It means you've done very well, the highest level. Started noticing them when there are vacancies like that, I want to apply. Once they say, they call their CPA, I don't apply because they won't give you. It was in my head. What helped me out was I met my childhood friend, my neighbor. He lived 2 hours away from me. Childhood, been known each other since age 5, 6. Good guy. He lives in a different city. He's an Omo boy, sharp guy, but he's also street smart. He was the one that helped me. I said, oh boy, for this place, now like this they do. And what he told me was, till today I'll never forget it. Don't follow those people that don't do things. Follow people that have results. And introduced me to his friend, and his friend, who is also an accountant, told me that it depends on how you sell yourself. That's how they buy you here. First of all, rule number 1, in this place, they don't check certificates. So if you say you have CPA, nobody will check. Like, say yes. Second of all, don't put the country of experience on your CV. If you say you've been in this country for 10 years, they will never check. Okay? Thirdly, don't do accounting too long because the money is not there. Do project management, do IT. And that was it for me. It just changed my direction because then, okay, fourthly, I think which was even the most important thing, don't sit in that city. Look for a job in a different city. Look for a remote job in a different city. Then change your location on your resume, on your everything, that you live in that city, that you have a job faster than here. You know, those are the little tips that he gave me. And I got a job after implementing that maybe very late last year. I got a job this year that, first of all, the city I live in, there's a up salary you hear anybody earning. That other city I'm talking about, you can earn double that amount. I got a job in that other city, higher than what the city I'm in is the standard average. And I'm living still in the city and it's a remote role. And people started congratulating me. And I was wondering, like, why are you congratulating me? Because to them, it's like, I've done the impossible, you know. And what I realized in there was, I didn't do the impossible. The difference was because everyone fed their heads with the negative thoughts. They won't give you, they won't take you. They believed in that negativity so much that it has now crippled them. They're not even making the effort anymore. You know, and still even after telling my friends is that it's because it's the field you are in, you are lucky. You know, so they pretty much, the negativity shut down the whole thought process in their heads. They can't even process that, okay, how did you do it? And that's the funniest thing. All they had to ask you, okay, bro, sit down. Show me step by step how you did it so I can do my own too. That was just it. Until today, as I speak to you, not a single person has asked me that simple question, that tell me step by step so I can update myself to do it. And I can tell you for free, if they do exactly what I did, they get the same results. I didn't lie. I didn't do anything. I just changed a few things. Changed my location, that I am here. You know, stopped selling myself. Of course, in the process of applying for roles that require Canadian CPA, if you don't have it, many will not take you. But there will still be some who invite you. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped thinking. I started just sending in the CV, you know. So that's some of the things that it makes it important. So when people tell you something is not possible, I always tell people I'm a living proof that forget that thing. No, impossible is nothing. Nothing is impossible. You just need to know what it will take, you know, and pay the price. Do the work and get the result. It's that simple. So I want to share a personal experience of this imposter syndrome. So to give you, I don't even know if it's to motivate you or whatever it is, but just to give you a context of real life that we all suffer from this. I just talked about the job that I got. And if you ask for who is the least qualified for that role, by anything, I am the least qualified. And I'm very honest with you. I currently work for a company that's into the blockchain space. When people hear blockchain, the only thing they know is crypto, and crypto is Bitcoin. But the company I work is not into Bitcoin. We're not into the coin. We're into the infrastructure piece, like the platform. You know, like when you're talking of selling Naira dollars. The company I work for builds the technology behind it. First of all, when the role came, I have, and this is true confession, I have zero, when you say zero knowledge about crypto, zero knowledge about blockchain. I've read it the same way people just read one page or one article, and that's it. I just know the keywords, knows yada yada yada. Zero knowledge about it. The company is a company with presence in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries. The Canadian company is a parent company who consolidates, does consolidation. I know a little bit about consolidation, but I've never been involved in. I've always outsourced it everywhere I've worked. Now it's my job. Transfer pricing. Fair idea of transfer pricing, just basic, but I've never had to do it. It's a requirement for this job. So everything I didn't have is a requirement for this job. And here I am applying for it, going through the interview phase. And I had the same imposter syndrome. It like, oh boy, come, CPA, you not get. Blockchain, you not know. And transfer pricing, you not sabi. Consolidation, na idea you use, which time you do IFRS. So deep down in me, I'm like, man, this ain't crap. But like I said, I always have an alter ego. Once the me is telling me that you don't know it, the other me is figuring out ways, like, because that's what happens if you shut yourself down, your brain shuts down. But if you let your brain, go to say, okay, hey, I got what it takes, right? What your brain does is your brain starts to process the situation and starts to find ways to make things work. My alter ego came in, King George, that, hey, bro, forget that nonsense. For every job, there's always a 3 to 6 months learning curve window, which everyone expects you to learn over those 3 to 6 months. Are you dull? No. Do you know how to learn fast? Yes. Do you know how to read? Yes. Are you smart? Do you know how to build relationships? Boom. I brought in my normal experience and normal knowledge, which is, if you are working in an organization, you need to learn how to play the office politics, meaning that don't work in isolation. Always work with your manager. Understand it. Like, it goes beyond the tasks. Your ability to also relate with people you work with is very important. Even when you are making mistakes, once your team likes you, your manager likes you, they will help you out. They will, rally around you and guide you. So I took that in, and I can tell you for free. I joined March. Over the last few months, what I've learned, as a matter of fact, it's my goal for next year to go to attend one of the conferences, the blockchain crypto conferences, and also give a talk there. Imagine from someone who knows nothing to someone with a goal in his head. It's like, by this time next year, I'm going to be in one of the conferences. I'm going to be talking to a 10, 20,000 crowd of people about this space. So which means that, that move, that learning, that knowledge move. And to be frank with you, it's not been very straightforward. I just realized recently that, because this thing is very, very interesting. It's interesting in the sense that one of my first biggest things is, I've heard of NFTs, but I don't know what it is. I don't even know how to handle it. I've heard of Bitcoin. I've heard of Ethereum. I don't know what to do with it. People get paid in it on those coins. It was on this job I realized there's a difference in what you call a stable coin, and your normal tokens or your memes or whatever they call those, whatever, meme coin, token coin, whatever it is, which is your USDC, USDT. How do you account for each one is different. USDT is what you call a stable coin, which is equivalent to your US dollar. And your Bitcoin is an asset. You carry it at cost until you sell it, because it's actually not a currency. It's an asset. In the process I'm learning, that's just a simple thing, that the reality is, deep down, I know I don't know the work. And I can tell you for free, maybe because of my experience, bar and all that. Even my manager is excited. The other day he was telling me, I can't leave. And I'm asking myself that, this guy, I don't know, say I did sweat inside like this. So this is why I just use Obroji the BS on her. So, an idea, because if we have a meeting, once I know the agenda, a day before I will spend 2 hours reading what is, there's something that they're doing now. They call it ZK, or zero knowledge, chain link, all those, whatever. And let me just save you the technical nonsense. I'm learning on the go, because I'm having meetings with people who have been doing this for 10 years, 15 years, or however long crypto has been around. I think 2009 or so. So, and I've been fortunate enough to keep going. I know that I have the gap. I don't know what it is. In terms of knowledge, bro, I am zero. And I must confess, because you guys are my people. But I just told myself that even if they fire me from the first one, because that's another way my brain processes stuff. If they sack me from this one, I'll go back again, look for another job in the same industry. They won't sack me from the second one. But fortunately enough, I've been able to at least make some knowledge. We just filed our annual report last week, which is due to tomorrow, June 30th, the financial statement, consolidated financial statement with transfer pricing, properly valuing the assets, crypto assets in the books. This is me as at March 1st. I knew zero about crypto. I remember my interview, even my manager still mentioned it. We just started laughing. Was it last 2 weeks? That when they asked me, what do I know about Web 3.0? And I was telling you it was like metaverse, like Facebook. And I remember I couldn't forget that interview. The guy laughed. He laughed and went back like this. I didn't know I was goofing until I got into the role. I realized, oh, no, they have no relationship. And this is me. Over 2 decades, finance, CFO for like 10 years of it. I've worked for multinationals. I've worked for e-commerce. I've worked for companies in the US, different places. I've worked in situations, involved in companies. Total fundraise of all the companies I've worked is over $100 million. And here I am. I have no clue. I'm taking up a job. But the point there is, I've figured out that, look, there's always that learning curve. And I will always leverage that. And if I get fired in that 6 months, the next job I'm going to take, they're not going to fire me in that industry. So that's my own personal experience. And I'm sharing this for you to understand that no matter how old you are, no matter how experienced you are, imposter syndrome is something that you will always face from time to time. But you need to now develop a muscle, an ability to deal with it. You need to find your own coping mechanism. I found mine. I have my alter ego, who is the superstar, the actor who is talking to you right now, who is not the same person when I'm sitting down with my family. But the bottom line is you always need to figure out how to deal with it as you go along your career. So thank you very much. And as a parting shot, my advice is always remember success begins when you hunger for something that's greater than your fears. Stay hungry and stay determined. So life is about overcoming your fear. If you know that you're hungry and you're consistently hungry for something, you will figure a way out to overcome your fears. Thank you very much. Any questions, please? Okay. I think someone raised their hands. If you want to have a question, please feel free to ask. It may not even necessarily be 100% about what I've said. It's an opportunity to have a conversation. I don't like just talking. I like to be able to engage, and we can learn from each other's experiences.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, James. How's it going today?
Not too bad, sir. I want to ask, like you made mention of earlier on that if one is having the fear that okay, the work I did today, it's not really much, and basically there's not much to be done, and when you look around, you still be thinking, this company, hope they won't sack me someday, because the work I'm doing, is it, if when you place it side by side with what you are being paid, you'll be asking so many questions. Is it that they don't have work here to be done, or what's going on? So how does one have to manage that? And
Okay, great. So it's what I do, and I'll share my own idea and opinion with you. What I do is I ask myself every time, what is the cumulative value that I add to the company? Just like one of my former bosses would say, if I leave this company, what will they miss? If the company will not miss anything, then there's a problem. Then I need to figure out how to embed myself in the system. Don't forget, you're not hired on hourly wage, which is the very interesting part. So The company is not employing you for, okay, you do 1 hour today. No, the company is employing you because there's a problem, there's a need, and you have the right skills and expertise to fill it. They don't expect you to have all the answers, but they expect you to have the right skills and expertise and have a process of solving it. So as long as you're solving that problem, you're good. So that's the first thing you need to ask yourself. What value am I adding to this company? What am I doing? If you are account receivable manager, the question is, the account receivable I am doing, is it the best way to do it? If it's not the best way, those quiet moments or low moments are moments where you can further do self-development. You can do more research. You can introduce a new report. You can introduce something new, but the most important part is understand that cumulatively on a 30-day cycle, am I adding value? On a 60 or 90-day cycle, am I adding value? On a 1 year basis, am I adding value? If you can confirm that you're adding value, because remember, even at the end of the day, and the easiest way to validate most of these things is during your appraisal. Because in most appraisal, they'll ask you to write what you have done. And if you cannot write anything, you know that, okay, I've actually not been doing anything. But if you're able to write things that you do, then it's fine. Everybody has that low moments. Like, there are days I don't want to work. I won't lie to you. Until maybe like recently, for like almost 3-4 years of my life, I always reserved Fridays. But people don't know. I would just be pressing the computer, playing games. I don't do anything on Fridays. It was intentional for me. Like, I just need a day to just have some. I not be now. So the bottom line there is, look at it from a 30-day cycle, and that's what I do. Like, or a weekly. That, okay, this week what did I achieve? I set 3 goals every Monday. I set 3 goals for myself, not more than 3. Can be less, but not more than 3. Then by Friday or Thursday, rather, I always ask myself, where am I? Or even Wednesday, I do like daily checkup on it. Am I achieving it? Then once I've achieved those goals, and I know those goals will add value, I just forget that feeling of I'm not doing anything. That's just the best advice for you. Don't dwell on daily headache. Focus more on cumulative value that you're adding to the company. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, cool. Okay, so how can imposter syndrome be managed when management expect to early performance from you, like your first 90 days? Great. It's easy. It's actually very easy and straightforward. There's a process I build around it. For first 90-day performance, month 1, first 30 days is your learning period. The key thing is, as much as possible within your first 2 weeks, make sure you meet the key stakeholders in the company, not just your department. I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They sit in their department and try to get things done. Meet key stakeholders. Have an understanding of 2 things or more, but 2 important things. 1, how do those people work? There are some people who like emails. They don't like to have one-on-one conversations. You note those individuals. There are some people who like small talks. You can't just come into a meeting and just jump into work. They want you to talk. How's your weekend? Yada, yada, yada. You note those type of people. And there are some people who just like to know what's going on at any point in time. They like updates. Even if there's not, just find one update and do one small report. They like weekly reports. You note the different work style of every individual. Then secondly, in there, you understand what their real problem is. If you understand what the key problem of everyone is, you note it down. Of course, you're not going to solve everyone's problem. That's the reality. But you note it and start to document it. Then month 2 is to build a strategy around those things. So between month 1 and month 1 is you identify what the problems are. You identify the different key stakeholders, how they like to be engaged. Then in month 2, you start to design and test your solutions. How do you solve it? So for example, I've had managers who like to know what finance is doing. I created a weekly dashboard. I've had managers where they just like to be on top of their things. I created a Monday catch-up call, 15-20 minutes stand-up. Okay, just to give you an update. They don't like you to send stuff. They prefer you talk to them. I've had managers who prefer just a quick casual message over the weekend. You identify those key things, then build your solutions. You take it. So the bottom line is you build a roadmap of how you want to solve their problem. You don't have to solve everything 100%, but as long as you're making progress. And remember, like I always tell people, and this is where people miss it, when dealing with management, management guys are human beings. And one thing I've learned that has worked for me, and it might need to also, this is why I said you need to identify their work style. You need to be able to realize that it goes beyond tasks. If it means calling up someone to just brainstorm, to get ideas, whatever it is, just engaging. It's very key. You need to build that human relationship into whatever you're doing when you're in dealing with management people. Because don't forget, most of them too are also under pressure for certain things. So you need to build those things. It's not just beyond, we need you to build a reporting system. Okay, I'll do it in 90 days. You sit in your corner and you're just crunching and doing this. No one knows what you're doing until day 90. You need to engage maybe every week, every 2 weeks. Just say, just to give you an idea of some of the things we're working on. We're here with this. We're making progress. Do you have any input into what I'm doing? Can you give me what is your biggest pain points? That's what I always ask everybody. What is the one thing that if I can take away from the perspective of finance? I'm not God. I don't promise anything. You bring some humor into it. What is it that you really love? And they'll tell you. That's the reality. That your people, the way you people give me reports, I don't even understand it. All you are doing is giving me IFRS. Part of my current role, I recently had to build a report for a team, our tech team, changing our revenue from accrual to cash basis. We use our normal accrual basis for our reporting, but we had to build a tool. We had to build a reporting structure for cash basis. So meaning that we only recognize revenue for them if the money is in the bank. So even if it's a 5-year prepayment, you put it in as one. So we created a budget or a target, and they are tracking that, and they're very comfortable with that. They like it. This is something that they've been battling with for over a year before I joined, and the problem is the guy who was in charge didn't really recognize that human side of things. Just, okay, every week or every month you present reports. Nobody was reading the reports. I had to do that one-on-one engagement with them that, okay, how can I make your life easier? And from there, I started getting information. Okay, reporting is a big deal, that they don't understand what IFRS is. They don't want to know. They don't understand accounting. They don't want to know. So, okay, what do you like to see? I want to be able to see the money as they are coming in and from who. So we built it, in collaboration. Okay, these are the informations I get. Is this what you have? Is this okay? You guys might need to put invoice this way, invoice number this way, and all that. We worked together and we built a tool. I got the data analyst to build something on Looker Studio. It's a Microsoft tool that Power BI sort of, but it's a smaller version. And they have their dashboards. Today, everybody is happy, and it took me just about a month and a half to do that. I didn't do anything special. All I did was just ask questions, and I got the answer. So the point there I'm making is you need to put a human side of it. So it's not just enough to do reports. It's also to engage, because I had to call some of these guys, what we call a donut call, 20 minutes of just gisting, just gisting, nothing but work. Just I went to their LinkedIn, just their social media. Say, the person likes to, go to funny places, me too. I created my own story. Me too. I like to have fun. This will build some rapport. Life became easier. So that's how I would advise you, engage them from that perspective. Reality is you will never be good enough. Let's be honest with ourselves, because you have to constantly keep learning, keep developing. There's always going to be that cycle, but importantly, you just need to figure out how to manage that situation and manage the individuals behind the title management or C-level officers. They are human beings also. So if you can appeal to the human side of them and understand where they're coming from, you'll be able to address it. I'm happy for you to reach out to me. We can always have a separate conversation on, my tips on some of the things I do that work, and I'm happy to share with you. And if that's a real problem that you're facing now, I hope I've answered your question, sir. Mhm. Okay, cool. Any more questions? I think people are having a perfect work career. Life is getting better. Life is getting better, man. Okay, Chuku, please unmute and you can ask a question.
Hi, Mr. George.
Hey, okay, how's it going?
It's been a while. I'm doing great.
Yeah, man.
I thought to join the session today. It's been so insightful. I have no questions. I just wanted to appreciate you for making out time to share your experience and share your experience around imposter syndrome and how we could navigate through it at workspace. Thanks a lot for the session. I really appreciate the time.
Sure. Thanks for recognizing it. Okay, thank you so much for that. The funny thing is, my career or my life started to make more sense to me when I started talking to people who are years ahead of me. Because as interesting as it may be, you learn faster from other people's experience. Because there's a proverb Africans have that what an adult will see while sitting down, a younger person will not see while standing up. You won't understand it until the more you start going into life. And the more I started to engage people, I started realizing that we're all human beings, we're all learning every day. And as a matter of fact, books are people's experiences, but some people don't realize it. Books or YouTube videos or stuff. This is just my nuggets to you guys also. If you want to talk to people, like I have mentors that I talk to directly, and I have mentors that they've never met me or they don't know I exist. One of them is Vuzi Tembokwayo, one of them is Grant Cardone, one of them is Patrick Bet-David. These are guys I listen to, and just listening to their content, it gives me an idea of what comes out of them and their experiences. And from there are quite a number of things I always pick up from, okay, this is how this person addressed this situation, and this is how it is. So this always gives me an opportunity to be able to share some of the things I've encountered in life. I've worked in I think back then it was 10, now it's 14 companies in my life, 14 different organizations, different sizes, different places. And one thing I've come to realize is I've seen a lot and made mistakes. Like I mentioned, if you don't know me personally, you never know that I've been fired before in my life. And I will tell you for free, it's 4 times now. Actually, it's 4 times I've been fired, and it never bothered me for once. Okay, yeah, you fired me, go to hell. Look for the next one. So I've seen people get so scared, get so low in terms of taking decisions. And when I open up like that to some people that I've spoken to, they go, what? You? Yeah, of course. They fire. Anybody can be fired now. You're a human being. It's about what is required and what is best for the company at that point in time, So the bottom line there is there are people with experiences. Until you engage with people, that you can also always learn, and very importantly, reach out, get mentorship, engage. And whatever you are drowning yourself in, that pain or sorrow or worry, there's someone somewhere who has been through that can always share more experience and that can help you navigate through it. So I'm happy that I've added value. Thanks for the appreciation. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, I don't think we want to drag people for too long. If there's not much question, we can end this at any point in time. Okay, so I think I'm not sure if there's any other question from anyone, so I don't finish people's data and keep people going. So like my last parting shot says, the key word in this for me is success begins when your hunger for something is greater than your fear. Stay hungry and determined. My parting shot to you is this: 2 dates are fixed. You can't change them. You can't do anything about them. One, the other one you don't know. The day you were born is fixed. The day you will die is also fixed. You don't know. So whatever you do in between your day one and your last day is dependent on whatever actions you take, not whatever happens in your head. So remember, every other thing can be changed. Your story can be rewritten. Whatever your fears are, whatever you're bothering your head about, can always be addressed in between them. Don't let anything stop you. Don't let that inner voice from your past determine what you become in your future. Remember, every day is new, and that's why you sleep and wake up. God gives you the opportunity to sleep and wake up so that you can start a new day afresh without having to take away, add the nonsense or frustration of yesterday. So go out there, make the most out of your life, forget your fears, forget your imposter syndrome, reach out to people, bring the humanness into whatever you do, talk to people, engage people, and be the best version of yourself. Thank you very much for having me today. Thank you for today's session.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, guys.